going on? I know it's pretty late at night here, 10:30 p.m., but I've been wanting to do this webinar for a couple of weeks here because one of the biggest problems that pops up in our practice, and parents are asking us questions about all the time in September, and I think we took 4 phone calls just today with kiddos that are coming to get started with these challenges, but it's one that maybe you're still up and hopefully your child's still not up. Hopefully your grade schooler, especially, or middle schooler is not up. Even honestly, I know as high schoolers, we kind of just make, or with our high schoolers, we kind of make the assumption, oh, that's what happens at that time of life is you just don't get a lot of sleep, you stay up late, and then, you're just kind of a zombie all the time. Well, all of this real quick, I'm going to get it done in 10 minutes or less. We're going to get into the story behind this. We're going to get into the science behind this. And most importantly, we're going to get into some drug-free ways that you can get your kiddo or yourself a little bit of relief. So let me get right into it and really just give you the scoop on this. And as I like to do with all my nerdy stuff as I get into it, we're going to teach it. We're going to talk about it with words that all start with the same letter. So it's easier to remember. And that's the same letter as sleep, which is S. So the first thing that starts this whole cycle is something as simple as stress, okay? Now, stress comes in 3 forms, and we're going to talk about how it shows up in 2 different seasons real quick, okay? So first off, we call them the 3 T's in chiropractic, right? So we talk about traumas, toxins, and thoughts, but they're more easily understood in your world as the physical stress, the chemical, kind of nutritional toxins. This is the story of today if you're on most mom and dad blogs and that sort of stuff. So physical stress, chemical stress, and then emotional stress. So why do things pop up when we get into September and we get into back to school? Well, right there, because there's a lot more physical stress. A lot of kids who are struggling with sleep are very involved. They're in a lot of activities, and there's a lot of physical and again, that doesn't mean anything I'm about to use an example does not mean this thing that I may say is bad on its own. We're going to talk about this word called accumulation. That's the key. When there's too much stress stacking up on the system compared to enough calm and relaxation built into that system, well, sleep is one of the first things that's going to struggle, and it's going to turn into its own perfect storm and its own vicious cycle, and kids and people are going to struggle with it a lot. So there's a lot of physical stress, and actually you'll learn in just a second about the neck and the upper back being a big one. So even if they're not involved in, say, sports, but just sitting all day with, at a desk with backpacks with everything, the neck and the shoulders are the real big keys within the neurophysiological system to where sleep comes from. It actually comes from the brainstem and is really regulated by that. And then chemicals and toxins. And then you better believe school, right? We got a lot more emotional pressure and a lot more mental, social pressure with school, with friends, with sports, with everything going on. So that's the season that we're in right now. That is the current season. But a lot of kids have struggled with this. So we jog your memory just a little bit. And again, you're like, where did these sleep struggles really come from? Well, if we actually dig into most of these kids' case histories, it goes all the way back to when there was stress in the pregnancy and infant and early childhood. So there's things like colic and a bunch of ear infections and immune challenges, constipation, irritation. Most of these kiddos really end up having a gut and a GI component, and we'll talk about it as a neuro-GI sort of issue. So a lot of these stress on the brain and nervous system challenges don't just show up today, and a lot of kids have been hit by both of those things. So what that does, all of that stress stacks up, and it leaves the system stuck, okay? That's the word I want you to be stuck with as you watch this, because you're going to learn, okay, here's the action steps already. Find out, did my child get too much stress that they could handle in all of its forms over all of its time that got their nervous system stuck in this mode that doesn't allow it to sleep? That's the first step. Figure out if that may be what's going on. And then the second step is to figure out how to get it unstuck. And we'll finish up our chat with that tonight. So what it's really talking about here is when they're stuck, it's that their central or autonomic nervous system is stuck in what's called sympathetic fight or flight system. Now, this is real good in the middle of the soccer game or in the middle of the Friday night football game or in the middle of the cross-country meet as Sophie Robinson is running down one of those runners. So the sympathetic system is a really, really rocking system when we need it. Well, we need it to go to bed when it's time to go to bed. We need this one to let loose, okay? We're not taking a test. We're not running a race. We're not doing these sort of things. We're trying to get some sleep. So sympathetics is the opposite of what we want when we want to go to sleep. So think of it, and I'm not a good enough drawer to artists to put this out on the whiteboard here, but think of their child or your nervous system like a pendulum, okay? So way on one side is this fight or flight, protective, go, go, go system, okay? Way on the other side is your snoring system. Like you're like drooling, you're snoring, like people could hit you with a baseball bat and you can't wake up because you're getting such good sleep, right? For many of you parents, that was called 3 decades ago. So over here, you've got all of the stress and you're stuck. Well, naturally during the day, you got to be going. You got work as a grown-up, you got school as a kid, you got all this stuff. So we naturally are a little bit more towards the fight or flight gas pedal during the day. And then as it gets dark, and then that's why we struggle so much in the winter, get tired early. Then as things start to slow down and chill out, our nervous system starts to shift naturally. You don't have to think about this. It happens on autopilot. It starts to shift towards this, what's called para, meaning opposite, parasympathetic side of the nervous system. And there's 2 lines in the, pendulum sand here as I use my arm gestures for you that I want you to be conscious of, because we got to figure out if your child is not getting to them and then get them to a place that we can get them back there again. And the first thing you have to hit when you come over this center line and you're getting towards what we call the brake pedal side is the first line in the metaphoric sand is to fall asleep. And then once the nervous system is enough to get to sleep, then there's another line it has to cross, which is to get to deep REM, high quality sleep. And what happens when we have too much of this and too much of this, because we call this is all called subluxation, okay? So subluxation simply means stuck on the gas pedal. And when you're stuck on the gas pedal too much all day, every day, and you can't get over the line to get to sleep, or it takes you too long and you can't get into a deep sleep, that's when this becomes a vicious cycle. Because guess what? You get a bad night's sleep, how's your next day? Cranky, stressful, difficult. And it starts to compound and it starts to snowball and it starts to really leave us in a lot of trouble. So what we do as chiropractors is we know exactly how to measure. In fact, we have technology. We have tests. So I know you maybe if your child is really struggling with sleep, maybe you've gone to a sleep center and learned about sleep apnea and had all sorts of other things. Some kids have even gone as far as getting EEGs to see what the brain is doing. Well, I'll tell you what the brain is doing. Whatever the body tells it to do, because the brain is one big sensory organ. And for children especially, it is sensitive to a lot of stress stacked up over a lot of time, and it will get stuck in that cycle. So what we measure is the sleep center. So we literally have sensors, and we have a test, a computerized technology where we can find, locate, and quantify how much a child or a person may be stuck in this sympathetic overdrive. It literally takes 10 minutes. There's not even anything like an x-ray going into it. It is a sensory test that can find if the sympathetic nervous system is firing too much, which would mean the brake pedal, sleep, calming, relaxing side of the nervous system isn't functioning enough. That's why we see sleep as such a common, almost there every single time, secondary challenge with ADHD, with sensory processing disorder, with our spectrum kiddos, with our anxiety kiddos, especially, which is such a big challenge. We're going to be doing an entire workshop series on anxiety here, starting off in the winter and early into next year. But sleep does not happen here. So if your child is not sleeping and struggling to fall asleep, stay asleep, get quality sleep, or all of those, the number one thing to do is to find out if they are stuck in the state of sympathetic overdrive. I'm going to give you a couple more tips really quick, but that's the thing. If you have questions on it, and again, we don't have anything other than this to say after this one, just call us. Call and talk to Jen and Jackie and Nikki and Missy and Julie and everybody on the team, and just ask us questions. This is meant to be, I probably went over 10 minutes now, but this is just meant to be a short, informative video and webinar to give you the basics of this. We can walk you through the entire process to tell you, because here's what chiropractors do. We can find that stress and we make gentle, easy adjustments to release that tension. And when you release that tension that is built up over time, not only do you get the stress to start to get out of the way, But with our office, we have a unique, different approach than even most chiropractors. And we know exactly where to make adjustments to stimulate the calming, sleeping, it's called the vagus nerve or vagal nerve tone side of the nervous system. So I'm getting a little bit down the slippery, nerdy road that I love to live on. So I'm going to leave it at that and have you call with this. But there's two other questions we get all the time from parents whose kids who struggle to sleep. The first thing you maybe tried is some supplements, right? Some magnesium, some essential oils. And if you level up the subluxation or the supplement game even a little bit more, you may go to melatonin. Now I love these two little M guys, okay? We've got magnesium in our house. If our kids just have a busy time, they might get adjustments and some magnesium to help them at nighttime and some chamomile tea and some essential oils. But here's why those things really, really work well in, say, the Evo kiddos. Because when your nervous system is balanced and is in a good place, so is your absorption. See, what happens is magnesium, melatonin, those things will have a short-term effect on improving sleep for many adults and many kids, but then it wanes, then it fades off, just like a medication, just like another M word. Medications do work a lot of times in a short period of time. Unfortunately, medications come with a whole host of other side effects most of the time, whereas magnesium and melatonin generally don't have, especially magnesium, don't have as high of side effect profile, and chiropractic especially, oh, sweet little baby Jesus, doesn't have a side effect profile, especially pediatric experienced trained chiropractors as we go through it. But that's why chiropractic and so many of these sleep issues are neurogenic. And when the nervous system is jammed up like that, so is the gut. That's why so many of these kids have these challenges within their gut. So even if you take a load of magnesium or melatonin or essential oils, it may not get in and have the same effect for your child if their nervous system is in this fight or flight protective state and doesn't let it get in and be effective. So I wanted to sneak that in really quick too, because there is a lot of other drug-free options that are out there too for sleep. And I bet many families have tried them and they're wonderful. Okay. Again, like I said, we got a house full of magnesium and oils, but those things are going to go into children, people that have really, really high functioning, calm, balanced, relaxed nervous systems. And that's why that's really the first place we start. And that's why the number one side effect, honestly, as we joke, we have side effects too. Ours are just all good. The number one side effect we hear from parents and our adult patients all the time is, oh my God, thank you. They are finally sleeping. And now when they're rested, they can regulate their emotions better the next day. Now when they're rested, they can get over that cold or that respiratory virus so much easier the next day. Now when they're rested, they can concentrate and do better with their homework and with their tests. Now when they're rested, they can perform better at volleyball, at cross country, at the band performance, at choir, at football, because their body is healing, recharging, and repairing. Sleep is crucial. Stress is common. Too much stress in today's world is also very common, but it's not normal to struggle with sleep, okay? There's a huge difference between those two words, common and normal. This is what creates it, and the things we just talked about with the adjustments to relieve and get rid of that stress on the nervous system are the things that have helped thousands of patients sleep better through PWC over the years and across thousands of other chiropractic offices everywhere. So give us a call. Let us help you get a better night's sleep. Let us help you get your kiddo to bed so then you can get to bed and get a good night's sleep as well. Maybe sneak in a little Netflix show, a little Game of Thrones, a little Outlander action like our gal Jackie here at PWC. Hope this helps your family get to a better, healthier place as we go into fall and winter. God bless. Be well. Let us help.